Hello guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Zepbound, and on this channel here we'll talk about skincare, hair care and all those sort of things that are supposed to make you look good for a really long time. But we are also talking about something like health, and therefore today we are going to talk a little bit about weight. We are going to talk about how you can lose weight or how you can manage your weight, because there is a very famous person at the moment, and she is talking a lot about weight loss. And apparently over the years America have had this sort of like national sport, she says, that was about talking about her weight gains and weight loss and that sort of thing. It is of course Oprah Winfrey. So the latest thing is that Oprah Winfrey, she is famous for also being part of Weight Watchers, but apparently she is not that anymore, and now she has embraced something like I think Semaglutide. She will not tell us what it is. She just says that she has been using a weight loss drug. So we can just sort of like speculate what could it be. But I really think it must be Semaglutide, because I guess that she has started this weight loss journey some months ago, and there wouldn't really have been anything else on the market but Semaglutide. So I will just refer to it as a Semaglutide, but we don't really know if that's what she took. Now it is so that I was a little bit alarmed, because when Oprah, she said that she would start to use this drug to stop or avoid yo-yoing with her weight. So she told the magazine people that she would use the drug to stop yo-yoing. But now, excuse me, I'm just a little bit like, if you are going to use a drug in order to avoid yo-yoing, well, basically you are just yo-yoing in a different way, because what it sounds to me is that you will be sort of like eating what you normally did, and when that makes you a little bit larger than you would like to be, then you will just use this drug, and then it will be fine for a little while, and then you go back to a slimmer frame, and then you can start over again until you become a little bit of a larger frame, and then just go on this drug again, and then sort of like the vicious cycle will basically just continue. Now I'm pretty sure that Oprah, she knows everything about dieting, and
I love bread.
Being on a diet, changing your diet, and sort of like changing your lifestyle and all that sort of thing. And actually on her webpage called oprahdaily.com, she was actually saying to a woman that was sort of like writing about how she was managing her weight and that sort of thing, and she said to her that basically you need to change your diet. And yes, definitely you have to change your diet, but what sort of diet should you actually have, and what should it contain, and should you take maybe some supplements in order to help you if you are a little bit older than just a teenager or some sort of a young person? Maybe you should, and I will talk a little bit about that later. But the thing is here that if Oprah, she is having a diet where she will be piling on the pounds again, and then need to go on Semaglutide, and then kind of like go over and over that sort of vicious circle all the time, then she is basically eating incorrectly. And I know it might be that she will be eating a lot of salad and all that sort of thing, and there is just that little thing about eating a lot of salad. It makes you constantly have cravings, and that is because you are not eating something that is actually satisfying your body in the way it wants to be satisfied. And I'm afraid that in order to satisfy your body the natural way, the way we are evolved to and all that sort of thing, you need to eat meat, and you need to eat animal fat and that sort of a thing. And it might be that it's politically incorrect, and it looks nicer with a lot of vegetables like salad and colorful fruits, and eat all the fruits you like and all that sort of thing. It sounds really, really lovely, but at the end of the day, the body does not really care about what is politically correct and what isn't. It just wants to have the right stuff in order to make it function best possible. And now it is so that I have spoken before about what I eat, and I try to avoid something like carbohydrates, sugar and that sort of thing. Do I like bread? Yes, I do like bread, but I just know that I don't need to eat it all the time. And the thing is also, when I'm eating as I normally do, and that means meat for breakfast and some sort of animal produce for lunch, and some sort of animal produce for dinner, then I don't really need to eat a lot of carbohydrates. I don't have a craving for bread or anything like that. and therefore if you are eating the correct way, you won't have this sort of cravings all the time. So when some sort of like a dietitian says that, oh, you need to eat all these sort of salads and fruits and vegetables and all that sort of thing, and when you get this sort of like dip in the afternoon, like 4 or 5 o'clock, and you need a little bit pick me up sort of thing, oh, then you can just eat a little bit of a handful of nuts and that sort of thing. Now the trick is, if you eat as I do, then you don't get those sort of dips at 4 or 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whenever it is, because your body is simply just using your stored energy or what you have eaten for breakfast in a slow fashion, so you don't have this sort of like a hunger pangs and all that sort of things. And that tells you that you are sort of like stimulating your body with the right sort of thing. And just like shortly, if you were in a jungle or in a wood or somewhere like that, what sort of thing would you be able to eat? Certainly you would not be able to eat a lot of apples. You would not have any sort of like fruit juice or anything like that. Most likely is it that you would have to run a mile or something like that, and you have to catch some sort of animal. And when you have caught that animal, you will be eating the liver, the heart meat, all the sort of organs that you can eat and which are full of nutrients. You would also eat a little bit of the fat, and you would eat the meat, of course. But the thing is that there wouldn't be that much fat on an animal that you have caught out in nature, because it itself would have been running around in order to get its nutrients, so its food itself. So it would not be some sort of a fat lump that would be running out in the wood. And so therefore you would not be catching some sort of meat where there was a lot of fat on it anyway. But there would be some sort of a fat on it, and you would definitely not throw that away, because you would never know when you would get any of it again. But if you come back to the drug, then I think the drug is semaglutide, and that is basically something that is called glucagon-like peptide 1, and that is something in the body that is telling your body that you are full, so you don't want to eat more. So when you are on this drug, then there are people saying that they have lost their appetite, and so that's a bit maybe too much, so they really don't enjoy food anymore. And that, I mean, obviously that's too much, because you should be able to enjoy a good steak or a glass of milk or something like that, lovely boiled eggs or something like that. You should have a want to eat that, but it shouldn't be like a constant hunger for it. It's just like something that comes gradually. So the thing with semaglutide is that it can completely sort of like take away your enjoyment with food, and that is obviously not healthy either on a mental level. So therefore, if you are, for example, trying to boost your own production of glucagon-like peptide 1, then you can actually do that, and that will sort of like, the point here is that if you are eating a lot of carbohydrates, so a lot of sugar and that sort of thing, then you will not get the right stuff into your body that will tell your body that it's full. You can basically just keep eating, and the more you do it, the worse it gets. So the point here is that if you come back to how you are actually evolved to eat, then you won't have these sort of cravings. So what can you do in order to sort of like stimulate your body to produce this glucagon-like peptide 1? Well, it is actually so that if you are taking something like an amino acid called glycine, and I've spoken about glycine before, then you are actually stimulating your body to produce its own glucagon-like peptide 1, and that is basically what you want, because if you're stimulating your body to produce something, then usually there will be something like a mechanism in the other end that says, now, you know, don't need to produce more of it, so it sort of like regulates itself. But if you're just eating a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugar and fruit juices and that sort of thing, then you're simply just having your body is completely out of whack and it doesn't really know what to do anymore. So it is important that if you are on something like a semaglutide, that when you are on it, then you don't really have these sort of food cravings. But when you go off semaglutide, if you haven't changed your diet, you will just pile on the pounds again. And that is basically what I'm a little bit afraid that Oprah Winfrey, she will do. Well, basically what I'm afraid of is that she's telling the world that she will be using it to avoid the sort of yo-yo effect. You would use the drug in that way. And I think telling the world that, so that people can just, oh, Oprah, she's doing it, so I will be doing it. Well, it must be okay. I don't think it's okay. You should take the time when you are on semaglutide, if you are on semaglutide, in order to change your diet, so that when you are off semaglutide, then you have control over your diet and how your body is working. And as I said, if you think that it's a lot about eating nuts and vegetables, salads and that sort of thing, fruit juices and whatever, you are wrong, because if you eat that sort of thing, you will constantly have this sort of like cravings, and in the afternoon, like 4 or 5 o'clock, you will sort of like have a slump and you just want some sort of quick energy, and you might be eating some fruit and that sort of thing. And yes, there might be some vitamins in the fruits and that sort of thing, and might be really great, but there are also actually vitamins in animal produce. I mean, it might be not okay to say it, but for example, the liver is actually full of various vitamins. So it is actually the organ that is one of those organs that contains most nutrients. Most nutrients is so dense sort of meat you can actually eat. Now, you cannot eat that a whole lot of it every day. That is not what I'm saying. But I think that is something that you need to have in your diet in order to have a good health. Now, there is another thing you can do, and that is something called a PAPA, and you might have heard about that before, as some like a supplement, or people are talking about why they are taking that. But here we're actually talking about a PAPA in the way that that is again something you can produce yourself in the body. And why do you want to produce that in your body? Well, it is actually so that is also something that will be stimulating your body into producing this glucagon-like peptide 1. So if you both have glycine and you have a PAPA in your body, then you are actually stimulating your body to work as it's supposed to, in relation to when you are feeling hungry and when you're not feeling hungry, and that sort of thing. But how can you produce PAPA in your body yourself? Well, there is actually another amino acid that is called glutamine, and that is it will be turned into glutamate in the body and vice versa. But when it is a glutamate in the body, then together with a vitamin called vitamin B6, then it would actually form a PAPA in your body. So that way, by taking something like a glycine and a glutamine and then vitamin B6, then you can actually stimulate your body quite well to produce this glucagon-like peptide 1. And therefore, when you are eating a proper diet, you will be getting those things through the diet. And I'm pretty sure that when you start to eat as I have described, then you will not sort of like feel the hunger. But also it is so that if you are on a semaglutide, I would say maybe you shouldn't take glycine and that sort of thing together with it, but it's something to have in mind that when you are coming off a semaglutide, then that is definitely something you could look into and start taking as a supplement. And I would say that if you are sort of like a young person, maybe it should be enough to sort of like start just changing your diet. But before you sort of like do that, then it might be a little bit sort of like daunting, you know, to go from eating a lot of carbohydrates and then just starting to eat just a lot of meat. So I would say that there it could be a good idea maybe to at least take some of the glycine, because that will instantly help you to feel less hungry. But if you are older, so like me, I am 48 now, then I would say that something like a supplement that maybe is something that you should think about having in your daily diet, or something that you are taking on a daily basis. Because when you are sort of like older than 30 years of age, then there are things in the body that starts to not work that well anymore. But one of the things with being larger, so sort of like I mean, people don't like the word obese and that sort of thing, but that is usually what we are calling, and it might be some sort of a negative word or whatever. But if you are larger than you would like to be, then that can obviously happen both when you are a child and when you are a grown person. But the thing is that if you are a younger person, then maybe you shouldn't take that many sort of like supplements. I mean, yes, I can understand if you are very, very large, so that your doctor is saying that this is dangerous, you need to do something something straight away, yes, you can go on a Semaglutide or something like that. Eli Lily, they have their own product as well, just come out with in, I think it was November last year. And yes, you can go on that, but you need to think that this is not a long-term solution. This is basically just so that you can have a break in order to find out how you should actually be eating, so you can avoid getting larger when you are not on something like semaglutide. So it is so that if you're eating the way that I have spoken about today, then I will say that you just sort of like get a sort of like a natural feeling of not having this sort of a hunger thing. And I think there was actually a sort of like another program with Oprah Winfrey, and she said that she had actually at some point had a thyroid issue, and she went to the doctor, and he had apparently said that she just needed to learn to embrace hunger. No, you should definitely not need to learn to embrace hunger, because the whole point is that if you are eating in the correct way, you don't have any sort of hunger. It just comes gradually, and then you are eating the correct food, and then it goes away again. It never really becomes a sort of a big issue. It's more like, oh yeah, it's 6-7 o'clock, maybe I should think about having some dinner, because obviously I cannot starve myself. Why would I do that? So it is sort of like you're more like thinking, yes, now it's breakfast time, now it's lunch time, now it's dinner time, but it's not something like, oh yes, I am so very hungry, so isn't it kind of just say that now it's lunchtime or now it's dinner time, I just eat a little bit early today then and then have a snack later. No, it basically is more like you have to think, okay, yeah, I better eat something, but I'm not really that hungry. And again, then you will be looking at what should you eat, and then you would be eating something that would not give you some sort of like instant energy, because you're basically not hungry. It's a bit like if you go out shopping and you're super hungry, I mean, you will be taking a lot of stuff that you shouldn't eat. So the whole point is that it's more likely that if you are not very hungry when you are about to eat, like 6 or 7 o'clock for most people, I guess, and for dinner time, then you will be taking some choices that are a lot healthier for your body. So yes, that was my little view on semaglutide, or the drug, as Oprah Winfrey, she is talking about that. I think you should be a little bit careful with using the drug to avoid yo-yoing. You need, if you go on the drug, to make sure that you're changing your diet into something that I'm talking about, because in my opinion that is something that will make you full the whole day long, and you won't have these sort of cravings. So yes, that was my little tip. If you would like to go on semaglutide, yes, you can do that, but you just need to think about what are the consequences and what you do while you're on it, in order to make sure that when you're off it, you can still carry on and not pile on the pounds again. And I would say that something like glycine and glutamine, and then vitamin B6, that is definitely something you should look into, so that your body can produce this glucagon-like peptide 1 on its own, as it is designed to, or evolved to, as I like to say. So yes, if you'd like to see more of this sort of videos, please subscribe to the bell and do all things to be notified when I upload more of this sort of videos. Thank you for watching. See you. Bye.